It is the NFL draft month, as we all know, and this team had some interesting maneuvers in the free agency period. Joining us right in the middle of the talent evaluation portion of his non-playing season, as we say it in the NFL, is the head coach of the Washington football team, Ron Rivera, back here on the show. How are you, Coach?
Doing good, Rich. How are you?
I am fine. Walk us through what a day is like for you getting ready for the NFL draft, Ron Rivera.
Well, basically, it's we come in, we have meetings early in the morning with the coaches or with our scouting department, and then we go back and we start doing our evals on some of the prospects that have caught our eye. And once we get into next week, we'll actually do our draft readings and have our meetings for the different positions. And so we're really, diving into it now that free agency has slowed down for the most part.
Okay, yes, and you made some interesting maneuvers. Let's talk about obviously the quarterback spot first up. How do you evaluate your quarterback room right now and the depth chart in which you place everybody right now?
Well, the way it's set up, Ryan's going to come in as the starter. But he's got a couple of young veteran guys that'll be competing for the ability to play in both Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen, and then we have a second-year player coming off of a disrupted rookie year, Steven Montez from Colorado, who we like a lot of. But Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in as a veteran guy who's very savvy and has a world of experience. We're a team that I think is still developing and growing, and to have a veteran guy leading it like we did last year with Alex, I think it can give us a real big boost to development and growth of this football team.
And I mean, it's just it is amazing sometimes watching Ryan Fitzpatrick play. It's infectious just as a fan. What about his game do you think suits Washington football team schemes? What do you like about his fit here?
Well, really, to me, it's about ball distribution. He puts the ball in so many different players' hands. When we went back and evaluated his last few years in the league, they were some of his better years. He did some really good things the last couple of years. He's been very helpful in the growth and development of the team in Miami. And, here's a guy that can come in and do the same thing for us. And who knows? Who knows what happens after this coming season as far as him? I mean, what he can do for us and how he can help us grow and develop as a team.
And where else, I guess, did you look at? How many people did you look at for your quarterback spot landing on Ryan?
We looked at several. We were in the Matthew Stafford derby. We thought that he would be a guy that would really help us as well. And, when that didn't transpire, we had always been talking about Ryan. He was always in the conversation. And so we went after him as soon as we had the opportunity.
And why, Ron, did things end with you and Alex Smith? It seemed like an incredible run. And it does seem as well like if you could lend any perspective to the way things ended, he wanted to play. Maybe you didn't feel comfortable with him playing in that playoff game, leading to some sort of gear grinding. Is that a fair assessment? What can you tell us about all that, Coach?
Well, there's really not much to talk about as far as that was concerned. I mean, it was something that I think he felt his opportunities might lie elsewhere. And so, we gave him the opportunity, by releasing him, and we'll go from there. I mean, he did a great job. He was very instrumental, as I said, in the development of this football team, and he will always have a place of high honor here in this organization.
And then I guess I'll give you a chance to maybe respond. He gave a quote to Gentleman's Quarterly saying that he thinks that his play helped throw a wrench into your plans, and it seemed like you actually were quite happy to use him sometimes. So it was a little bit jarring. What do you say when you hear that quote, Coach?
Well, his site came out and explained that this was a reporter who didn't quite take it in context, which is fine. And to be honest, he and I had a great sit down. We had a great conversation after the season was over, and we talked a little bit about that. And I told him, I said, I honestly don't disagree with you because it was frightening. I told him I was scared to death. I did not know. And he said, Coach, that's fair because there really was no roadmap to us getting to where we were, which was true. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. And so because of that, there was trepidation on my part. And I told him when he went out there against the Rams and he gets sacked for the first time, I had a pit in my stomach, and I literally turned up into the stands and looked at his family because I'm thinking to myself, oh, goodness, what's going on? Because, again, there was no roadmap. Nothing told us, what was going to happen. So there was. I mean, to be honest, to be completely straightforward about this, and as I said, we had a great conversation about it, and he and I had a good conversation. We really did.
Ron Rivera here on the Rich Eisen Show. It seems like you're getting a lot of some of the Carolina gang back together one by one. Obviously, Kyle Allen is still on your staff and on your roster. You're obviously comfortable with him and how he can run an offense that you're comfortable with. And Curtis Samuel, you went out and acquired him in free agency. What do you like about Curtis's game and how you think it can fit into everything that you're obviously building there on the O for the WFT?
Well, I think it's exciting because what it gives us is it gives us a vertical complement to who Terry McLaurin is for us. With Terry now out there and Curtis out there and the mixture of guys that we have that we can put into play for ourselves, with Adam Humphries and some of the guys that are coming back as far as Cam Sims is concerned and Steven Sims. I mean, we have an array of guys that can contribute and really go out there and tell people, hey, you can't roll to Terry anymore. You can't double Terry anymore. Because if you do and you want to leave Curtis alone, then great. That's fine. We'll take it. Or you want to leave Logan Thomas alone, or Cam Sims or, any of the guys, we have weapons now. And that, I think, is one of the more important things, that we have people that need to have the ball in their hands. And, again, that's why I said that's the idea behind bringing a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick in, a guy that can distribute the ball to the different people.
Ron Rivera here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's talk a little bit about some of the rule changes that might be coming in the NFL or being discussed in the NFL. Or were discussed in the NFL. Do you like the idea of a sky judge, Coach? Would you be up for that?
I do. I think whatever we can do to help and make sure we get it right. I think that's important. And yet, there's still a lot of things that have to be worked out. And I know those will be things that will be discussed as we start having our meetings in the next couple of weeks, as far as deciding whether or not that's something we do on a permanent basis or for a trial basis. But I do like the idea of doing what we can to make sure we get it right, because it's important. I mean, these games are important. It's not like baseball or basketball where you have a number of games. We have a limited number. We have, we now have 17 that you have to play, and you want to win as many as those you can. I think it's important that you get them right. And if this helps us, then great.
Are you going to change the way that you run practices, Coach, in any way, shape, or form now that there's a 17th regular season game?
I think so. I think we learned a lot from last year, to be upfront about that. As we went along the year and how things were changing and how things were being required of us to be done, I think we may have found a couple of things completely different from what I had done in the past, as I did in Carolina my last few years, in terms of practice reps, number of reps, time spent on the field, time spent in walkthroughs, time spent in actual action periods. I mean, all that really came into play, and I think we learned, at least I feel like we learned, myself, our training staff, our strength and conditioning, and our coaches, just how important it is to be aware of these. So I do think it's gonna change the way we approach the season as we go through this 17-game stretch.
Would Ditka have changed his approach if you had a 17th game back in the 80s? Coach, what do you think?
I think he would have.
Okay.
I do, because I know he changed. I know he adapted when we went to 16.
Okay.
And I know he would have adapted as we go along. He's somebody that paid attention to those things. Now, did we practice physically? Yes, we did. But as the season went on, we tapered off. So I think he would have done the same thing.
What's the angriest you ever made him or saw him? You got a good one for me? Come on.
Oh, man. I remember one time we blocked a kick, and we tried to scoop it, and I missed it, and another player missed it, and they recovered it, and it was because it was a change of possession or however it worked out.
Right.
It ended up as a first down for the opponent. And so we had to go back out there for another series. Thank goodness we stopped them, but when we were coming off, Dicka was there waiting for us. And he just right away, he yelled, "We have too many F blankety blank heroes just fall on the ball." And I still remember that to this day.
I imagine you coach the same thing, maybe in a different manner, but you carry that with you, and you try to instruct your charges in that regard, I'm sure. Oh, man.
I do remember that. Holy cow.
I didn't mean to give you those flashbacks, but I heard you tell this story on a Zoom that we did together with Tirico and a whole bunch of guys for our friends at Wheels Up a couple of months ago, and I'd love to for the Super Bowl. I'd love to have you retell it about John Madden and how influential he was in I guess helping you, in a way, earn your reputation as the old Riverboat Ron. Can you walk me through that one? What a great story this is, if you don't mind.
Yes,
hitting me on this one, Ron.
No, well, what happened was, after my second season, I had this dubious record of being 3-13 of games decided by 6 points or less. And the former owner, Jerry Richardson, had told me, you need a mentor. I have a friend named John Madden, who you know. He said, I've talked with him, and he's waiting to hear from you. So I called Coach, and we started talking, and he said, oh, by the way, before you come see me, you know those 13 games you lost? I said, yeah. He said, go back and look at those games and think about what you could have done differently. So I did. I went back. I looked at those 13 games. I wrote this beautiful report. Okay, it's like about 18 pages of details about what I could have done differently and how things could have changed if I had done these different things. So we set an appointment. I fly out to see Coach in his home office in Pleasanton, California. I come in. We sit down. We start talking, and it was interesting as heck. So just as we're about to get into the nuts and bolts of our conversation, I say, hey, Coach, I got that report for you. He said, oh, cool. But it's not for me. That's for you. I said, excuse me? He said, that's for you. What did you learn? Well, I said, the biggest thing I learned is I went by the book. He said, you went by the book? What book? I said, well, the one, you should kick it here in this situation, like, in this game. And he said, yeah, how'd it turn out? I said, well, he goes, Ron, forget this book. To go by your gut instinct. You've played enough football, you've coached enough football to go by your gut. Go by how the game feels. Do those things. And so I thought about that. Go back, and now we start the 2013 season, and we're playing Buffalo in Buffalo. And we get into the same situation. And sure enough, I went by the book. We kicked it, go up by 6. They get the ball, drive down, score the touchdown, kick the extra point, and they beat us by 1. I was sick. I was ready to throw up on it. And everything kept flashing back to what Coach said to me. And so I'm driving home that night, Monday night. I've watched the tape about 10 times and I just sick. As I'm driving, I'm thinking about this. I run a red light, and I almost get T-boned.
Oh.
And it just wakes me up. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. I get home, and I can't shake it. So the next week we're playing the Giants at home. In our first series, okay, we were 0-2 at that time. In our first series, I go for it twice on 4th down. Both times we convert and score the touchdown. Yeah. And then from that point on, every time we got into a 4th down situation, thinking about down and distance and where we are on the field, we went for it. And so as the games progressed, by about the 5th game of the season, I did it again. We played Minnesota in Minnesota. On the first series, it's 4-2. We were on a shovel pass to Mike Tolbert. He scores the touchdown. So after the game, some reporter basically writes, boy, Ron Rivera, he went for it. He was gambling like a riverboat gambler. And that's how it was born, Riverboat Ron. And, and it's really not necessarily about just throwing, to the wind as much as it's really thinking about and calculating situations like that.
And that's how Riverboat Ron was born. And you won on an 8-game winning streak off of that. And then obviously a couple of Coach of the Year awards after that. And now here you are, the defending NFC East champion, head coach of the Washington football team. And I just to dovetail off that just a little bit is what the role of analytics plays now. You see it all the time. I mean, you went for the 2-point conversion in the win against the Giants that almost, when it all came that let the Giants, root heavily for Jalen Hurts against you on Sunday Night Football in Game 256. So how what is that push pull that you deal with sometimes? It's about momentum and stuff like that. To me, it's funny because. I've had coaches that I've worked with, mentors like Norv Turner, and Norv and I have talked about the right time to go for it on 2. Like a lot of people say, well, if you're down by 14 and you score, you should go for 2 now, okay? And on your first score. Mm-hmm. Well, if you do that, you just got the momentum back, and now you go for 2 and you miss. Now you've lost the momentum. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, those are the things that Norv and I talked about. And so I've always tried to keep those types of things in mind and how you do it. So really, it's about gut feel to me. I think the analytics are there to really, I guess, just indicate whether or not, this is the right time or this is a good time to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had situations where when we've gone for it with the analytics and it didn't happen out, and I've been told, hey, that's okay, you did what the analytics said. And to me, I struggle with that because if I did what analytics said, and it says 9 times out of 10 you're going to complete it, there's that 1 time out of 10 you don't. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
And so how do you know if you're going to be that 1 time out of 10 that isn't successful? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if there is no guarantee, you can tell me all you want. That it's 99%. Hey, that's good. Yeah, but what if you're that 1%? What if that 1 time it doesn't work? Nobody talks about that until it happens. Right. And then it's a bad decision. No, it's not a bad decision. The numbers, but the numbers also said. So you just don't know. You can argue it all you want. You could, for sure. Hey, before I let you go, I know you've been kind enough to call in. I just want this is literally for me. I'm not going to lie here. The most exciting play, one of the most exciting plays, let's put it that way, in the postseason was Taylor Heineke diving for the pylon, hitting the pylon, hitting it with the Heineke. And in that game against Tampa, it was dynamite. I hate the rule that if the ball is fumbled into the end zone, it goes back to the defense. I hate that because Taylor, if Taylor had lost the ball on the way to that pylon, he's making an aggressive play. It got me off the couch. It was just so exciting. What do you think of that rule? Would you want it changed in the NFL? No, because there's always that caveat. That if I always risk it by putting the ball out and putting the ball out and putting the ball out, right? Okay, I always risk that. Then there is no penalty for the risk. Nothing can be risk free. There has to be a penalty. It's crazy. It's like when we go through training camp and we got a rookie that's making all these plays on defense and everything like that. He goes, God, this guy's gonna be a great cornerback. And I always say, not so fast. And I said, what do you mean not so fast? I said, he's practicing no consequences. I said, when you watch some of these guys play during practice, they're great. There's no consequence. They get on the field. Now everything's in front of them. They get tackled and all this stuff. And everybody goes, man, what happened to that guy that we had in training camp? Well, there's no consequences in training camp. So when it's for real and there's consequences, now they may not always be sticking that ball out because there should always be that chance that they may lose that ball. It may cost them. That's why, to me, it's hard for me to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we should change the rule." Well, again, if there's no consequences, people are they're going to try, and well, there's nothing to help the defense then. Well, it's just like pass interference. The guy throws the ball up in the air 50 yards downfield, and these guys are hand fighting, and the referee decides to call it a defensive penalty. The ball's on the 1. Whereas if they call it on the offense, it's from where the ball was thrown. That's where the penalty goes from. Well, but my issue is that if let's just say Taylor reaches for it and it gets fumbled out at the half-inch yard line, it's still yours. But if it's fumbled another 16 inches north
it's no longer yours. That seems to me totally arbitrary.
Right.
That I can't stand. I mean, so I would change it in that could be a reverse touchback, that you now get the ball in the 20 with the same down. The distance is obviously different, but it's the same down. So there is some risk. I just don't like the fact that the defense that's been bending and is about to break gets a break because the guy loses the ball in the end zone. Even if they did force the fumble defensively, if it goes out at the half-inch yard line, it's still yours. Further up the field, it's not. That's the arbitrariness I don't like.
No, hey, that's why it's great to have a talk show, because we can talk about that.
Well, the Ron Rivera Show coming up after the Rich Eisen Show, everybody. Thanks for the call, Ron. I appreciate the time immensely, certainly during a busy time of the year for you, I'm sure. We'll chat again soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That's Ron Rivera, everybody, the HC of the WFT. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.